Yo, it's good, guys. This is my trade recap of the 2 hour short that I took in YM this morning. Let's go over all the logic behind it, why I entered. Starting off on the higher time frame, of course, YM was inside of this gap that held from yesterday, and ideally I wanted to short Nasdaq just because it was the weakest of the triad. So, and how do I tell it's the weakest? Well, you can see the difference of the run above this high here, and then also the candle closure back inside the range. ES had a nice one, just had a larger opposing run, so that's why Nasdaq was the most appealing to me. And you can see YM had a very large opposing run and a stronger bullish candle closure. And so now you're probably wondering why I took YM today over Nasdaq. Well, there was a strength switch during the sessions, and I'll go over exactly how I found that and why and how I was able to execute on that. So price had a pretty it had a pretty bad profile. This isn't like an ideal profile, but the drawn liquidity was clear to me, which was this 1 a.m. low, which is also this 4-hour low. So going into the day, I saw that price had this large up large opposing run here into the current high of day, and ideally you would want to have the high of day confirmed by an hourly or a 30-minute swing point like this, a swing formation. But if you would wait for the candle closure down here, you would miss the entire move. So then this is where you sort of have to know and be a little more advanced and kind of understand if price is going to reverse from this 15-minute gap, then it can allow for continuation, right? So this is the reason why I ended up shorting YM, and it was based off of the fact that this 15-minute gap on YM was never used in the morning session. And I woke up right at like 8:30. I saw that price had this opposing candles here that is rebalancing this 15-minute gap. And so I'm now using, instead of using this entire up close candles, this series, I'm now using this series to confirm that most likely if we close below that, then we can get the 4-hour low, which is that 1 a.m. low. And I chose YM because of the same thing. So, or I chose to short YM because price failed to get inside of this daily or this 15-minute bearish for value gap. So that to me is showing a indication of weakness and a strength switch. And notice how Nasdaq is staying in the lower portion of this 15-minute gap. Notice how small the candle bodies are starting to get, and you start to get consolidation. That is typically all good signs for a continuation lower. And so once price closes below the series of up close candles here, I now drop to the 5-minute to then look for an entry. And since I understood that I was shorting the weakest asset, I was looking for just this 5-minute for value gap here. And so when I have a 15-minute for value gap here like this, we have a nice run up and then a sharp reversal lower and a continuation. That to me signals that price wants to continue lower. And in this case, all I did was literally just short the 15-minute opening price there with inside, or that is nestled inside that 5-minute for value gap. I have my stop loss at the high of this 5-minute for value gap. Since I knew that I was shorting the weakest asset, I did not need to have my stop loss all the way up here, and I was able to get better RR that way. So as you guys can see, if I would have just targeted this low, that would have been a 1.3R. That is not something that I need to do or that I want to trade. So what did I do? I took profit at the new week opening gap, which is exactly 2R. And so I pretty much barely got filled. Price hits me there. I had literally zero drawdown, and then price hits my take profit in the next two candles. And at this point, I took a majority of my position off. My stops were at break even, and I told you guys in the Discord that I wanted to see ideally 930 to continue lower to spool and break out through these lows, but that did not happen if we continue to play price. I ended up taking off a little bit more on the stab lower here because I noticed that Nasdaq really wasn't doing anything. It was starting to rip lower, or starting to rip back up higher after we had this sweep of its low, because Nasdaq was the last to take out that 4 a.m. low, or that 4-hour low, which is the 1 a.m. low. So I took off one more contract when we made a new low of day, and ended up getting stopped out at break even after that 10 a.m. candle opened. And then price just made this very large retracement and then kind of came back into the range. And this is where we are right now. But a little bit more of an advanced trade, something that I'm trying to work on. Those are all of like Garrett's teachings, GXT, that's his model. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions, always feel free to ask. And yeah, that's how I got my 2R short, off of understanding that YM was most likely going to be the weakest asset going into the open.